Welcome back. Well, the story of convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester raises unanswered questions by the day. The supposedly dead Thabo Bester is still alive and living the high life as a free man. His escape has left Correctional Services officials scrambling, with one claiming high authorities were alerted about it. The DA has since requested the Judicial Inspectorate of Correctional Services to launch an urgent investigation into this allegation. Now, experts say Bester's audacious escape from custody has the potential to erode the public's trust in the criminal justice system. Chad Thomas is a crime expert and he joins me this morning to take this conversation forward. Chad, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. Let's start with the Correctional Services here. I mean, what happened? What exactly happened that fateful evening where clearly it wasn't Thabo Bester's body that burned to ashes? It was somebody else, and he managed to get out and live almost, years freely as a free man outside prison.
Well, we don't quite know what happened. What we're being told leads us to believe that this is incompetence, negligence, and corruption of the absolute highest degree. We were led to believe that convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester, also known by many other names and aliases, was found in his solitary confinement cell burnt beyond recognition. It was in all probability a suicide. And later stories started emerging thanks to ground-ups, extensive investigations, that the body that was found had blunt force trauma as the cause of death, not smoke inhalation or third-degree burns. That in itself leads one to believe that a body was brought in. It was either that of a prisoner, another prisoner who had maybe died of natural causes, but the blunt force trauma suggests otherwise. Could have been somebody who was taken from the streets. We don't know. But what it does speak to is a very high level of corruption. What it does speak to is that there were multiple parties that were involved, because you can't smuggle a body into a high security or maximum security section for that matter, and then get somebody out the prison who can then start leading a separate life. So it suggests corruption, it suggests complicity, and it suggests that an exceptional amount of money must have passed hands to make this audacious escape possible.
Chad, what does this do to the reputation of the Correctional Services? I mean, we first heard about, Thabo Bester possibly living as a free man from the media. This information did not come from the Department of Correctional Services. Even when they were contacted, they still claimed they were still conducting DNA tests very well much later, post that particular fire in the prison and Thabo Bester's now confirmed escape. So clearly here there's a reputational damage question into play here in as far as the Correctional Service is concerned.
Most definitely, and it's not the first such occasion where their ethics are brought into question, and the way in which they conduct themselves is brought into question. There was a recent expose of syndicates operating from behind prison walls, targeting people in sextortion scams, in other forms of exploitation, impersonating police officers from behind bars, setting up profiles on social media, having monies being paid into e-wallets. So one needs to take into consideration that the gangs in South Africa are very organized. A lot of people have seen the movies of American gangs and the American prison system. What they don't seem to understand is that some of the South African gangs are the oldest gangs in the world. And through threats of violence and or financial incentives, they tend to control certain sections of the prisons. And this is something that needs to be addressed. What I'm hoping is that there's a proper high-level criminal investigation. What I'm not hoping for is another commission of inquiry. We know what the problems are. We don't have to go through the problems. We need to find solutions. And for a change in our country, we need to see exceptional accountability and exceptional consequences for those that played a role in facilitating this escape.
My question to you, just in terms of what you hope would happen, Chad, will Thabo Bester be found? Do you have confidence that the police will find him? I mean, they've made an appeal, a public appeal at that, for the public to do all they can to assist him in locating Thabo Bester. Do you have any confidence whatsoever that investigations will lead to Thabo Bester back in prison?
I do. I believe that he's audacious enough and arrogant enough to make mistakes like he has made by going out and being caught on camera shopping. I believe that those outside of the prison system that facilitated this, who are living with him, are the critical leads that are going to be able to find where he is or where he's been hidden. We saw that 3 different properties were hired over a period of time leading up to and post his event. So there's a lot of leads to follow. It all comes down to the fact that our state has got so many cases at the moment and so many high-profile cases to investigate that we have to ask the question, is there sufficient capacity? We are going through a phase at the moment where assassinations are the order of the day. We're seeing kidnapping on the increase, and of course we've got the CIT robberies. So all these seasoned specialist investigators are being plucked from other investigations, and then when there's another high-profile investigation, they get plucked and used again. So we're running out of seasoned investigators within the state infrastructure to conduct these investigations. And it just concerns me that we are sinking lower and lower into failed state status. We're not there as yet, but we do need capacity. And putting boots on the ground isn't putting veteran investigators on the ground. There's a big difference between having a police officer dressed in blue who's there to prevent contact crimes from taking place, to prevent damage from property or making arrests of people involved in contact crimes, to having a detective who's experienced enough to investigate, to trace, and to take a docket all the way to the prosecution stage. And that's where we are seriously lacking.
Well, I leave it there with you. Thank you so much for speaking to me about this. Crime expert Chad Thomas, thank you so much for your time.